Hey there, welcome back. I want to talk today about the soul. Back in number 7, uh, I said that Plato's great concern was for the improvement of the soul, that the struggle for the human soul was the quest for the good. That's the journey uh, that we're on. So if we can improve our soul, we can get closer to the good. I confess that I have never really fully understood this notion of the soul. I mean, when I first started taking the philosophy classes, I'd hear the word thrown around by different philosophers, and I never understood what it meant. I think that that's probably because my understanding of soul was developed in the context of my Christian upbringing. It was that aspect of me that was immortal and would go to heaven after I died. It was something that I could sell to the devil for, riches. Like many other things, I have learned a lot more about the soul and am understanding it better, not completely yet, but I have a better understanding. Plato's concept of the soul, I think, is a good beginning. Plato thought that the soul had 3 elements, or better said, that it functioned on 3 levels. Uh, a just person was one in which the soul performed its functions fully at each level, the result being a harmonious, ordered life. The lowest operational level of the soul is appetition or appetite, desire. Its proper function of desire is to achieve the virtue of temperance, self-control. Now, we all know that's a tough one. I, for one, have had my share of a lack of self-control, a lack of temperance, where my soul was not properly functioned, and indeed the result was a disharmonious life. You could say that my soul was sick, to use a metaphor. The next level, operational level of the soul, Plato called spirited. Spirited meant spunk, initiative, drive. Think of a spirited horse. Its function is to achieve the virtue of courage. I think of this as using my will to do something, to get something done. Generally speaking, when I have exercised my initiative and power to get something done, assuming it's the right kind of thing, I feel better about myself. I have a more harmonious life. Example I gave in the last video is exercising my will to happiness. Now, the highest level of the soul is intellect, the power to reason. Its function is to achieve the virtue of wisdom. The intellect must rule. It guides the spirit, which controls the appetite. This is critical to achieving a proper functioning soul and a harmonious, ordered life. Again, personally, if I take an honest view of my life so far, there have been too many times when the reasoning part of my soul did not function properly. I did some stupid. To describe the proper working of the soul, Plato used the metaphor of a chariot drawn by 2 winged horses. going towards the sun. One horse was unruly, running off in all directions, doing whatever it wanted. That represented appetite. The other horse had strengths to control his unruly partner and lead the chariot. It represented the spirited element of the soul. The driver, of course, represented intellect. If they didn't work together properly, they crashed. They did not get to the sun, which represents the good. Remember, the struggle for the soul is the quest for the good. So they got to work together. By the 18th century, these three elements had become intellect, or reasoning, will, or purposeful action, and emotion, or self-interest. So, without getting hung up on the proper philosophical analysis of what the soul is and whether it is immortal or not, I'm going to say that for me, the soul is that incorporeal aspect of consciousness that animates our life. And it includes our ability to reason, our power to act, and our desires and emotions. I'm also beginning to suspect that there's something more, that it includes our ability to connect with something transcendental. I don't know what box to put it in, or if it even can be put in a box, but we're going to have to leave it there, I am, and let my thoughts develop. By the way, here's a fun fact. Plato believed that the soul was not only immortal, but it was eternal. It existed, your soul, before your body did, and after your body dies. The soul is not something that comes into your body. Your body wraps around the soul. Plato's metaphor showing the need for a proper functioning soul was used in his pursuit of determining what is a just, properly functioning society. And we can too. Problems in ourselves and in society come when appetites rule. The problems we face in America today that I was ranting about reflect an unjust society. Thoughtful people see injustice. We talk about social justice, economic justice, criminal justice, environmental justice. Is our national soul functioning properly? Do appetites, self-interest, rule? Look at our financial sector and the greed-driven behavior. Look at the fossil fuel sector. Greed. Look at the political leaders who abandon principle for power. These are signs of a soul that's not functioning properly. I think I said in the last video that we've lost our soul, that America has lost its soul. Our spirited element, our will, our purposeful action, without guidance from reason, is just asking for trouble. Without direction, our will comes under the control of our appetites, our desires, our passions. And then we get into trouble. Right here in River City. Rationally directed will can control appetite and emotions and improve our soul. our individual soul and our national soul. Rationally directed will can control our appetite and our emotions and improve our soul. We have this superpower, the free will guided by reason, the free will guided by reason to control our emotions and in the end be happier. Think about your soul. What platonic element is in charge of your actions? Is it desire? Do you desire things that you do not have? Most people do. If you ask someone what they desire, they will generally answer with something that they don't have from that perspective. More money, more influence, more this or more that. Now, I'm guessing that if you're watching these videos, you already know that money, power, and fame don't bring happiness. But can desire bring you happiness? So it depends upon what you desire. Now, here's a happiness lesson. Desire what you have, not what you don't. Desire what you have, not what you don't. I have personally found that actively appreciating things that I have and desiring them, I have become happier. It's an exercise I learned reading my very first book for a philosophy class. It's part of Stoic philosophy. Think about something you have and then imagine losing it. Everything and everybody is perishable. It's not a macabre thinking. Imagining a loss focuses your attention on its value to you. You will appreciate it or them more. It has a practical effect. Ask my wife. I'm nicer now. If you love what you have, the desire element of your soul will be functioning properly. Plato would approve. What about other emotions? Are you controlled by your emotions? Or are you sometimes a prisoner of your emotions? Go back to me on the couch. Emotions were controlling my life. My power to act was diminished. I had a sick soul. It was not functioning properly. How do I make it better? Well, here's in the last video, I have to repeat myself here. Emotions cause modifications in our body. And modifications in our body cause modifications in our emotions. They increase or decrease the power of our acting. Emotions are feelings. Emotions can be active or passive, self-caused or externally caused. Active emotions can overcome passive emotions. Active emotions come from logical ideas. They're connected to reason. They're the driver of the chariot. If we strive for reason, we are able to approach active emotions. Active emotions increase our power to change ourselves and others. We have more power to deal with the world around us. Now, Spinoza says that this power is the same thing as virtue. Virtue is our power to act in accordance with the laws of nature. With understanding of the laws of nature, we gain power to act in accordance with those laws. We can only affect change by understanding logical causes. A person whose acts are determined by inadequate, illogical ideas act with diminished power. They will lack control over their emotions. Just let's think about the people we see out there at Walmart yelling at people because they're wearing masks. They are in bondage to their emotions. Freedom from being emotionally driven comes from logical ideas and reasoning. We can control our emotions through rational thinking. Virtue, then, is a life ruled by reason rather than being controlled by emotion. We make our souls better by seeking this virtue. Spinoza claims that the most useful thing in life is to perfect our understanding. Understanding results in our highest happiness, our blessedness, our contentment in spirit. This is what the Stoics would call tranquility. We acquire this virtue, by understanding the consequences of actions. With a life of reason, we gain clarity about the causal forces that are determining our circumstances. With a life of reason, we gain clarity about the causal forces that are determining our circumstances. The causal forces at work in us physically and emotionally, and the causal forces at work in the world. It's by understanding this causal mechanism of nature and by accepting it as uncontradictable that we gain freedom from emotional upset. Acceptance brings peace of mind. Virtue, living a life in accordance with reason, is its own reward. Where have you heard that? Virtue is its own reward, and virtue is living a life in accord with reason. So, how does all this help me with my depression? How would it help you with your depression? Well, it does. If I focus on my active power of reason and understand that everything is caused, and I try to understand the causes, I feel more able to deal with the world. I'm not depressed now. I'm disappointed. Disappointed in how we're continuing to mess up the world. Hopefully, reason will prevail and we will make some progress on social issues and environmental issues and making a just society. What I understand is that things are the way they are by necessity. I can try to make it better, but how much can one man do? What I can do is to exercise my will over what I do with this life that I have. I can exercise my will over what I do with this life that I have and make it better. Life is a struggle. It's filled with trouble. Trouble is the rule. It's not the exception. Life sucks, and then you die. But it is also a life filled with joy. It's all part of the same package. Happiness comes from affirming life with all of its ups and downs. Don't be anxious about what might be. Embrace what happens. Make the best out of every moment. All we have is the present moment. The future is beyond our control. Amor fati. Love your fate. That's Stoic wisdom. That's Nietzsche. Nietzsche says, don't deny life. Don't say no to life, but become a yes man. Say yes to life, all of life, the good and the bad. Improve your soul. Use reason to engage in purposeful action. Appreciate all that you have. Experience the joys of beautiful sunsets and green forests, good friendships, loving relationships. Engage in life. Search for a meaningful and purposeful life. This is how we defeat despair and be happy.